So hello everyone, today I am going to discuss FCFS, that is first come first serve CPU scheduling algorithm, which schedules a job according to their arrival time. So let's solve a numerical based on this. We have the process ID, arrival time and the burst time. These three things will be given in the numerical and we need to calculate the completion time, turnaround time and the waiting time. So let's make a Gantt chart first. Process P1 arrives in the system at time interval 0. So process P1 will be allocated with the processor at time interval 0. The completion time, the burst time of P1 is 40. Next process P2 will be allocated with the processor at time interval 40. So P2 will be allocated with the processor at time interval 40 for next 3 seconds and the completion time of P2 will be 43. At time interval 43, P3 will be allocated with the processor. At time interval 43, P3 will be allocated with the processor for next 1 second and the completion time of P3 will be 44. Let us write the completion time. The completion time of P1 will be 40. The completion time of P2 will be 43. That is at time interval 43, the execution of P2 is completed and the completion time of P3 is 44. That is at time interval 44, the execution of P3 is completed. Now let's calculate the turnaround time. Turnaround time is the time for which a particular process is there in the system and it can be calculated by completion by subtracting the arrival time from the completion time. Now completion time is here with us and arrival time is here with us. Now we will calculate the turnaround time and the turnaround time for P1 is 40 minus 0, which is 40. The turnaround time for P2 is 43 minus 1, that is 42. And the turnaround time for P3 is 44 minus 1, that is 43. Now let's calculate the waiting time. Waiting time is a time for which a particular process is waiting for the processor and it can be calculated by subtracting the burst time from the turnaround time. So we have the turnaround time with us. Waiting time will be for P1 is 40 minus 40. For process P1, waiting time will be 0. 40 minus burst time, that is 40. The waiting time will be 0. For process P2, the waiting time will be 42 minus 3, which is 39. Then for process P3, the waiting time will be 43 minus 1, which is 42. Now let's calculate the average turnaround time and the average waiting time. Average turnaround time will be 40 plus 42 plus 43 divided by the total number of processes, which are 3, and it will be 125 divided by 3, which will come out to be 41.6. And the average waiting time is 0 plus 39 plus 42 divided by 3, which will come out to be 81 divided by 3, which is 27. Now what is the problem with FCFS? In this particular scenario, and it may be possible in other scenarios as well, that the burst time of the first process is higher as compared to the other process. So the problem is convo effect or starvation. When the burst time of the first job is highest among all, this problem is known as convo effect or starvation, because the other processes are starving for the processor. That's it.